to the Tuesday Night Call with Dr. Marvin. I'm Steve Kelsey, his co-host with you tonight. We're glad to have all of you joining us tonight. Let me remind everyone, of course, that protandim is not intended to heal, cure, mitigate, or treat any disease. In the United States of America, that's reserved for drugs and pharmaceuticals. But we do know that protandim will reduce dependent oxidative stress an average of 40% in 30 days. And an 80-year-old or a 20-year-old, it doesn't make any difference. That is good news, especially with all the stuff that we're faced with today. Dr. Marvin, I'll get the recording started here and we'll get ready to go.
Okay.
This conference is being recorded.
All right, we're ready to go with the Tuesday Night Call, Dr. Marvin.
Okay, here we are. Well, welcome everybody. We're on the verge of Elite Academy number 11. I hope a lot of you within the sound of my voice are headed there. There's big things planned. There's going to be an interaction that I think will be hard to miss unless you just can't go there. Because we're going to introduce some new things, and some of those told us about, and some of us they have hinted about. So the only way we're going to find out is to be there and be attentive and listen. But, I agree with what Steve just said. According to federal law, we can't mention anything about treating a disease, mitigating a disease, or diagnosing a disease, or standing in the way of you and your physician's arrangement in his treatment of a disease. So, we're thinking sometime in the near future, as soon as we can arrange it, to have Eddie Martin as a guest speaker on here to explain all that compliance. Because there's been some complaints from people who listen to the Tuesday Night Call saying, well, I'm telling everybody they can cure cancer. I never said that. And anyhow, some people have reported that to the company. That's why the archive calls are on hold at the present time. That's why they're all on hold. Because some person decided and that was the outcome. So, what do we do? We're looking at a product that is a category creator, an NRSP activator. No one else has an effective one as of yet, so you have no competition. It is an NRSP. It's a protein messenger critical to fight against oxidative stress. Now, you can talk about oxidative stress till the cows come home and no one gets upset. But don't go further and talk about curing, mitigating, treating, outdating, or changing any disease or diagnosing any disease.
I hate interrupting, Doctor, but I don't know if I'm the only one that you're not very clear. That the voice is not coming very clear. Is there anybody else is that way? Because I'm having a very hard time hearing you or understanding. Here, it's very fuzzy.
You've got
Experiencing the same thing.
It started. It was like that last week, too. It's started. Okay. Steve, why don't you go ahead?
Well, see what we can do on your end on the phone there, Doc. But, like Doc was saying, one of the things that we're looking forward to is seeing if we're able to arrange for Eric Marchand to come on as a guest speaker with us on the Tuesday Night Call so that we can get a little more clarification for everybody's benefit of the things that he knows that we can say and can't say. You know, of course, that there's nothing in protandim that does heal, cure, mitigate, or prevent any disease according to the FDA and the statements that we can issue. So that is the laws of our land, and of course we are obedient to that, and we do comply with that. But one thing we do know is that we can reduce oxidative stress, and we do have a lot of published studies that we can certainly direct people to. If you go on to that website called PubMed.gov, that's PUBMED.gov, you can go on there and find out a lot of information. Of course, that is the one place that you can direct anyone to go, and if they put in the search line the term protandim, at that point they will pull up the 14 peer-reviewed studies that are already posted and existing that are there on PubMed. interesting thing is they put in the search term oxidative stress, they'll find that there'll be around almost 8,000 articles. It may have reached that point right now. Last time I looked, I think it was 107,800 and some odd. But all of those articles relate to one of the basic issues that the NRF2 activation of protandim is accomplishing, and that is activating those enzymes inside of your cell, which are removing the free radicals. You know, it's something like 1,000,000 to 1, rather than what people have been trying to do for many decades now by using direct antioxidants. That, of course, they're the ones that are the one and done club. One molecule of one of those direct antioxidants with one free radical will neutralize them, and then the body will take and remove and flush out both. So we want to be a part of the $1 million club and not the one and done club. So we do have a great tool, and we can take people to the PubMed site and ask them to connect the dots. You know, it's very interesting to do searches using the first two words of oxidative stress and then add some other issue that a person may be facing and see what kind of results that they will get by doing that search. You know, if you do something like oxidative stress and cancer, you'll find that you'll have over 10,000 studies. You know, this is an area of science that is very, very hot right now as far as in the research community, because what we've noticed of those 108,000 studies that are up there relating to oxidative stress, about 1/3 of those have been published and appeared on PubMed in the last 3 years. So you have a span of 50 years where they have begun to look at oxidative stress, but yet in the last 3 years alone, we are looking at 1/3 of those studies that have been done during that period of time. So you can see that in the world of research at the university level, that this area of science is drawing a lot of attention. And we have a patented product with 5 United States patents that is a nerve tube synergizer that turns on those enzymes inside of your cell to produce those very enzymes that you need to give yourself that level of protection and remove that oxidative stress that has come from that rusting from the inside out principle called oxidative stress. And like the video says, we all have it. So Dr. Marvin, have I got you back on the line yet?
Well, not yet. I'm working on another contraption. You go ahead and do the call.
Well, we've got, let me open up the lines and we'll take some questions and see if we can answer a few folks' questions. Give me a second here to unmute the lines and get them ready. It'll be just simply star six.
Unmuted. Muted. Muted.
Okay, I've got the lines open. If you have a specific question that you'd like to ask, please just star six and give us your name and where you're from, and let's talk.
This is John from upstate New York.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your first name.
This is Joe.
Joe?
Joe.
Yes, sir.
Listen, maybe I'll take you off the speaker phone that you can understand me.
Yeah, speaker.
Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to find out was I've been using protandim for about 6 months, and I'm 79, and I've had cardiologists carotid artery inside, because I've had some heart issues in the past, and he said that's the thing that they try to keep track of. And I think the last time I checked was probably about 6 months ago. I was recently and checked it, and he said that my numbers had gone down a little bit. They're about the same. They said they've gone down a little bit as far as the accumulation of fiber. And I was just trying to establish if protandim could have had that effect on it.
Well, I think that you first, everyone right direction. So the one thing that you've done in taking protandim, I think, is certainly proving to be beneficial for you personally. One of the good things to note that of these 14 studies that have been published, if you look at those, there's five of those 14, they all point to research that's surrounding cardiovascular issues. For example, the study that was done by Commonwealth University was on the right ventricle of the heart and the buildup of scar tissue and failure. And that's a very important study that was published in the American Heart Association's journal. And there was also another study that was done by Ohio State University, a 4.5-year study on venous bypass graft response to protandim. So those are two important studies that have been completed, plus another study by the University of Colorado, where it was a genetic study that talked about arterial sclerosis and the genes involved with arterial sclerosis, the disease, and the similar genes and the impact of protandim. Now that study is the 9th study, and it shows that in that particular heart issue that of the 19 genes influenced by that malady, protandim turns 16 of them back in the opposite direction. That's marvelous research. And then I'm not sure, I think it was the 11th study also is dealing with cardiovascular issues. And all of that points to a good reason why Steve and Dr. Marvin both agree this is the pill that I take every morning without fail.
Well, that's very encouraging to hear that. I have heard in the past that I've read in a couple of publications, actually, separately, that people who have used a certain amount of pomegranate juice consistently over a year's period showed a reversal of I guess buildup in the arteries and carotid.
Yeah, I've heard some good things that have been said about that particular fruit juice. I do know that, of course, one of its properties is as a direct antioxidant, and so there is some limited benefit as a direct antioxidant. Of course, not anywhere near the magnitude of what protandim does for that particular issue for you personally. There may be some other health benefits of it in its natural state that are very beneficial. I think you're absolutely right.
So based on that,
you can overdose on it either.
You said you can't.
I don't think you can. You'd have a pretty hard time.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering if just keeping using one a day is as much as I'm going to benefit from. If increasing it could be any more beneficial.
Well, you bring up a very good point. And what I've heard Dr. McCord state in some of his lectures, in both the recorded ones that are on the website that are available, there's 4 of them up there, plus the different ones that I've heard as he's lectured at the different elite academies. He says that one of the beauties of protandim is that it's in a low-dose delivery, and what the body does with this low-dose delivery is maximize where it is right there. He said that if you go beyond the 1 tablet, because he has formulated to get the maximum benefit at 1. He said in a lecture, he said that 2 won't necessarily give you better results. In some cases, people have been known to take, and Dr. Marvin will oftentimes suggest to someone who is maybe facing something very serious, to take 1 in the morning and 1 at night for 10 days to 2 weeks, and then go back to taking again 1 a day. And of course, a key component to that is always make sure that you're drinking 64 ounces, 8-ounce glasses of water a day, so that your body has the opportunity to flush out any of those toxins that the body is cleaning up and kicking out. So I think that some people in the past, we've heard stories reported where people are taking 2, 3, 4 a day or more, and what happens is there is, in the way that it works in your body, there's a sine curve, which is a common curve in in science that's kind of like the hump in the middle starts low, goes up to a hump, comes back down. And the way that it is formulated with one pill is close to the maximum results. When you go past one, you start on a downward slope again, and you're getting diminishing returns, and in some cases not as good a results as if you were taking one.
Oh, I understand. Yeah. Okay, that's good to hear. And it's recommended that you don't take it within 2 hours of other supplements and medication.
Well, you bring up a very good point that, especially for new listeners, it's good to always review that. Especially if you are taking any of the individual ingredients that are listed in protandim, any of the 5, whether it be green tea, turmeric, ashwagandha, bacopa, or what am I missing? Milk thistle. If you were taking any of those individually as a supplement, then don't take them an hour before or an hour afterwards. There are some folks that maybe the more common thing is someone may drink green tea. Just don't do it an hour before or an hour afterwards, because if you do it, you may be adjusting that ratio of the 5 components, which the studies have shown to be synergistic in their effect. The way that the ratios are established gives the maximum response by the body. So that's real important not to. I don't know very many people in the morning that are taking turmeric or that's used in Indian cooking, but there may be someone who is taking that supplement individually. So it's not. It's don't take it an hour before or an hour after.
So it isn't. Then if I'm taking other supplements, I can take them at the same time that I'm using protandim. I mean, what I've been doing is taking the supplements in the morning and then later at night, and then taking the protandim in a midday meal.
Okay. There's no conflict if you're taking, like, say for example, you're taking your fish oil, your omega-3s or your D3s, or nothing like that is going to your calciums. Those things are probably most vitamins, especially if they're a food-based vitamin or minerals, they're not going to conflict. Now, you probably should check on the ingredients in your multivitamin to make sure that it doesn't contain one of the 5 ingredients. And if so, then just simply delay an hour or take it like you're doing, arrange your schedule so that you're taking your protandim at a certain time. Like I'll take usually mine, just to make sure, I usually take my multivitamin an hour or so after I've taken my protandim.
So by my waiting 2 hours between it, plenty of time too.
Oh yeah, you're doing fine. How are you doing on your water intake?
During the summer, I probably drink far more than that recommended amount, but in the wintertime, I drops off a little bit, and I really find myself realizing that I'm not always taking enough.
I think a good tip for people, and one of the things that I do, I got an old-fashioned quart milk bottle, glass milk bottle, and I keep that around. If I'm traveling, I use just one of the regular water bottles that I take with me. But I will take and make sure that I get that twice a day, just as a good reminder, so that I'm consuming, at least 64 ounces a day. And that's been kind of a good handy reminder tool for me personally.
Let's see, 64 is equivalent to a quart, correct?
Yep, 2 quarts. 2 quarts is going to get you in good position.
Well, what would 1 quart be in ounces?
32.
32?
Yeah, 32 ounces in a quart. So that's equivalent.
That's 2 quarts.
Yeah, that would give you your 8 glasses, and that's a good way to make sure that you keep yourself hydrated.
Yeah, okay, good. Make sure that's it. Well, I think you have been very thorough in answering what I had questions, and I really appreciate your help.
Well, we're glad to have you on board. Keep taking that. Stay on the pill.
Oh yeah, I think that they have seems to be positive results for me, and I'm not feeling anywhere near my age, so if that's contributing something in that area, people ask me how old I am, and I say, well, how old would you be if you didn't know how old you were?
You know, I think that 120 years was good for Moses. I think if we start working on taking care of ourselves, maybe we ought to take and set our sights a little bit higher.
Well, I've heard it's entirely possible for someone to reach. Oh, come on!
Well, I don't know who that other lady is there in the background, but I think that preserving our health and taking care of ourselves is probably the best thing that we can do.
Okay, I will. I really appreciate you answering that and giving me information, and I'll relinquish the line for someone else.
All right. Well, thank you for those. Are good questions. Thanks for your input. Somebody else like to step in and unmute.
Hey, Steve. This is Denise Grady from Powhatan, Virginia.
Well, hello, Denise.
How are you? I met you last Saturday in Warrington.
I tell you, we had a nice get together.
Yes, we did. To touch base with what he said about taking protandim, what about taking it the same time with prescription medicine?
Well, what Dr. McCord tells us, because of the difference in the physiology, the protandim is processed through the liver and excreted through the residues through the bile, whereas most prescription drugs are apparently processed through the kidneys. Now, Dr. McCord has said repeatedly in his lectures that there is no drug contraindication. In other words, that there isn't a conflict. And it's been said repeatedly in a number of these lectures that even includes the drugs that are involved with blood thinnings, such as warfarin and Coumadin. And oftentimes the medical community will have some difficulties with people taking supplements if they're taking blood thinners, because it acts in a derogatory way with what they're trying to accomplish. But in this case, we don't have those kinds of restrictions. Now, we should say, of course, that one thing that is always cautioned by Dr. McCord is a person who has had an organ transplant should not take protandim. And the reasoning behind that is apparently a person who has been the recipient of an organ transplant is most often also on a regimen of anti-rejection drugs and things that are suppressing the immune system. So in a case where a person has undergone that kind of a procedure, you do not want to do anything that might compromise their reception of that organ. So that's what Dr. McCord has said. I know that Dr. Marvin said in the past that when he's talked to him specifically about this, Dr. McCord has made the statement, especially from an ethical standpoint, no one wants to run the risk of interfering with something like that. So there has been some limit. Now, and people need to recognize that's not the same as someone who is let's say, having a skin graft of their own skin, or they're having a mechanical device put in, like a knee replacement. Of course, that's a transplant of sorts, but it certainly is not. It doesn't qualify, and it does not make any difference. So, there is no. Dr. McCord has even said to Dr. Marvin that it doesn't matter how many years it's been. It's just not the right thing to do for a person who's had an organ transplant.
Right. Now, on another note, I'm looking in his call archive, protandim and autism. Can you explain how that kind of works hand in hand?
Well, when it comes to specific diseases, I'm really not qualified and can't say anything specifically about that. But let me say that I've always, and many times I'm sure in the past you've heard me pipe in that it's really important to take a look on PubMed, so that if you do the research on oxidative stress and let's say autism, for example, to see if the dots connect. If you do that search on PubMed, you actually come up with 158 studies that tie oxidative stress and autism together and being looked at in research papers. And so that gives someone an opportunity, a lot of opportunity to take a look-see for themselves, looking at abstracts and so forth, and connect the dots and see if they feel that this is something that they can benefit from. 158 studies is that's a fair amount of information.
Right, I agree. Now, what about somebody with, stage 4 cancer?
Well, if, in a situation like that, and should a person choose to go and use protandim as a supplement, in a case like that, that's where I've seen Dr. Martin in the past suggest that perhaps in their specific situation, one in the morning and one at night, and using that regimen may be beneficial to them. Now, of course, we do want to be clear that if someone is undergoing chemotherapy treatment, active chemotherapy treatment for some kind of disease, for that kind of condition, you really, Dr. McCord says they should not be taking protandim. But remember that one of the things that the medical community is trying to do with chemotherapy is to raise the oxidative stress level to create a hostile environment for the disease process. And of course, it would be counterproductive because they would be trying to raise it, and protandim, the body would be working to lower it. And there is a place that they talk about being the sweet spot. And you certainly wouldn't want to run the risk for someone of making things, harmful for them.
That's if they're taking chemotherapy.
If they're taking chemo. Now, I've never heard that prohibition with people undergoing radiation treatment. Of course, I think the best thing to do would be to discuss it with a physician and ask them the question: is there any reason I've been taking this supplement? Is there any reason why I should not be taking this supplement?
Right.
And,
for somebody to start taking it, it would be 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening for the first 10 days.
It might be best that they start with one, and because if they've undergone a lot of issues like that, they may be carrying a strong toxic load, and if their body dumps a lot of it quickly, they may experience some uncomfortable cleansing response. And if so, then they really may want to slow it down. But that varies. I've seen some folks who were very intent on seeing their own health improvement, that in spite of what they may have been feeling from a cleansing response, said, Katie, bar the doors, I'm going for it. And that's not the norm necessarily, but I have known folks that I've met personally and talked with personally that have chosen that. Now, Dr. Marvin oftentimes says that if a person is experiencing some cleansing response, it's better that they slow the process down and continue with protandim than abandon the effort that they've started. So sometimes it's if a person is uncomfortable, then cut it down to a half a pill, or cut it down to a quarter of a pill. Cut it down someplace where they can slowly build up and get into a comfortable place.
That's very good information for sure.
And of course, don't forget the water component.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it.
One last thing. Oftentimes, in talking with people, I've heard folks, especially sometimes if they're a little bit older, that they may not be accustomed to drinking as much water. And I've heard, Dr. Marvin has repeatedly said that much of America is oftentimes just walking around in a constant state of dehydration, which is not a good thing for them to begin with. So encouraging people to make sure that they're drinking 64 ounces a day is really important.
Awesome. Sounds good, Steve. I sure do appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, have a good evening. You're welcome.
Steve, this is Kathy in California.
Yes,
My
ma'am.
question
Where are you in California?
Pardon?
Where are you in California, Kathy?
Twain Hart.
Twain Hart.
Twain Hart. Mark Twain and Bret Hart. Twain
Twain Hart Hotel.
I'll be darned. Well, it's lovely here, just beautiful. My question is this: if there is, we have clients, or just maybe we don't have clients that drink a lot. Let's say they have alcohol, wine, what have you. And I know that milk thistle adds in liver functioning and cleansing. With the other ingredients, would this be a good thing to mention to them? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, obviously alcohol, if their consumption is in excess, they have another problem to deal with. Oftentimes, I think a lot of people that may wine consumption or any kind of alcohol consumption is certainly going to dehydrate you to extent, so that they're probably more prone to needing to be encouraged to consume more water. And I definitely, a good tip for a lot of people is the first thing in the morning, if you get up, drink a glass of water when you first get up. It is going to do a couple of things for you. It's going to, after a long night of good rest, it's going to help initially hydrate you, but it'll also, to some degree, help you with with curbing perhaps the signs of your first morning meal.
Well, I guess there are not any studies about this.
There is a study that's been done, a partial study that's ongoing with alcohol, and I'm not sure if it was, I don't recall now if it was pulmonary function. I think that's the case. I'm not sure on anything on the liver issue at this point. I know that you're going to have better liver health is one of the things that they talk about, especially with the ability of your body to produce the enzyme. It's going to help with the detox situation of glutathione. So all of that's going to help in the overall benefit that they're going to receive. We've not seen any studies that are talking about the liver functions increasing. We are desperately looking forward to what's coming out of the other 17 or 18 that are ongoing. We certainly have a great wealth of information right now with both the 14 studies and a lot of the information that is written in the patent documents besides. There's some good information there that you can point people to. Most people are not going to want to read those, let me tell you.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate your input.
Okay.
Hi, this is Jill, Bill and Jill from Detroit, Metro Detroit area. Hello?
Good to have you with us. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I have two questions. We have two, one's just a real person and one person has a pacemaker. And is that what you're saying, is that they have like a pacemaker, they shouldn't take the protandim as well?
No, there's not any. There's nothing that's going to conflict with a person with a pacemaker.
Okay.
That's not going to be a concern. When I say conflicts, I mean primarily if someone has been a transplant of an organ, where an organ has been transplanted. With a person that's had a pacemaker may receive some good benefit just in the fact that the cardiovascular function, the studies point to an improvement in their cardiovascular health. So that in itself, I think, is enough of a good reason for someone to be taking that. I've seen some good anecdotal stories, things of that nature that have shown some real positive improvements for folks.
Okay. Thank you for that. Now this person, they were told by the doctor they shouldn't take green tea, and I'm not sure what that is entails and what that is about.
Well, I'm not sure. On occasions, I've heard it mentioned. One of the things, of course, that sometimes they're concerned with caffeine intake. Yeah, a lot of green tea does have caffeine, but let me say that the amount of green tea and the amount of caffeine that exists in a protandim tablet from the green tea component is only 4 milligrams of caffeine. Now, to give you an example, that's less than a cup of decaf coffee. And if you are one that happens to go to Starbucks and get a tall cup of Starbucks coffee, you will have 350 milligrams of caffeine.
Okay.
So maybe let's put it in perspective a little bit.
That is really good information.
Now, the other person I was talking about was very ill. Hello?
Yes.
The mama is very ill. Is very ill. They've got the kidney. Their kidney is about shut down. Their nutrition, their feeding's too fed and incapacitated, and from the hospital to nursing home a lot. But now they're in the hospital, and they had cardiac arrest, and they're back. They've got the trach. They're breathing on a trach or a ventilator, and they've got about 7, 8 different diagnoses. They had the diabetes, and then they got the cardiac arrest, and then they had the strokes prior to all of that. And
well, that person has certainly got an awful lot of problems, but there is, even and it may not be even within the scope of that person being able to make that kind of a decision whether or not this would be beneficial.
Someone else is making the decisions for them. That's what we're trying to
But
find out.
one of the things that will be important is that that person needs to deal with their primary care doctor so that the doctor understands the reason, because the doctor's going to need to authorize it.
Don't let the book bite you.
Give them that
Right.
And of course, if there's a feeding tube involved, that's going to mean that the hospital staff will need to dissolve that tablet. They can do that. It'll take a couple hours. Put it in a couple of ounces of water and dissolve it, and then they can use a large syringe and administer it to the person through the feeding tube. So that's a plus. I've had that situation occur in my own family with one of the family members, and that's how we were able to go about getting the permission from the facility, getting permission from the doctors, and then having the staff administer it through a feeding tube.
They would just take one tablet a day or 2 a day.
They would stay with one.
One.
Yeah, I know.
They got several other ailments, but those are the major ones. I know something about the kidney is not pulling well in the lungs.
Hopefully at this point they can get them started and take. Always with protandim, the best advice, and Dr. Marvin said it repeatedly, is that continue to take protandim, continue to take that pill and swallow until you see the results you're looking for. Myself and my wife, for about 19 months, we've been taking that pill and swallowing, and we're getting the kind of results that we were looking for and that we wanted. Continue to improve.
Skin breakdown. Is it the skin breakdown coming forth? Because the nutrition is not as nutritious as it was before. What they were feeding is not being received as well. So, but
that would be more of a true Dr. Marvin question. I'm a little out of my league there.
Okay. Now, what time is he available?
Well, he is available if you go to the website, and let's just remind everyone on the call, where Dr. Marvin's website is Doc Marvin, docmarvin.com.
Oh, okay.
Do not use Dr. Marvin, because that will get you a dentist in San Diego.
Oh, okay.
And that won't be helpful. But if you go to Doc Marvin's website, there's contact information, including his phone numbers, and he can be reached, during normal day hours, until up into the early evening.
Okay, there's Dr. Marvin. So helpful.
Yeah, Dr. Marvin, of course, lives in Kansas City, which is Central Time.
All righty, that's good to know. Thank you so very much. You have a pleasant.
You betcha.
Okay, where is Dr. Marvin tonight?
He had some phone problems. I'm still expecting that he'll get that resolved and be back on with us. So Steve is the pitch hitter tonight again.
You're doing good. You're doing a good job. Columbia, Missouri?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Cindy from Columbia, Missouri. How are you?
Good, Cindy. What kind of questions do you have?
A couple of questions. One of them on testicular cancer. The diagnosis was a embryonal carcinoma. Not sure if I'm saying that right or not.
Yeah, Cindy, I am not a medical doctor, so it's really out of the league of something that I can say. I know that, as far as that particular cancer, I haven't done any research on it. You might go ahead and go to the PubMed.gov website.
I'm
and
trying
put in,
to make sense of it all, so that's good advice.
okay. Sometimes if you look at the abstracts, kind of get a little bit of a look at what's up there, and just do a fast perusal of the abstracts, you'll find some pieces that'll ring a bell. Sometimes you have to sort through, and I know that's exactly what Dr. McCord does, because he is always on PubMed looking to see where the research is going.
Great. And then the other thing, I've been insulating quite a bit with thyroid problems. Most recently, someone with a low thyroid problem, and she feels some extreme sensitivity in her skin on her tendons. Curious if anybody's got any input on thyroid.
No, and we don't, some of the other calls that we've had, of course, they're not available right now, but the issue that you bring up of sensitivity in the skin, is this person been taking protandim for, how long has the person been taking protandim?
Probably 4 months. It's sensitivity in her spleen.
Oh, I'm sorry, in her spleen.
Yeah.
That one is,
yeah.
that's not an area that I understood had feeling, but certainly it's something that she's experiencing. I just don't know how to respond to that, Cindy. I'm sorry.
Okay. I thought I would ask. Thanks so much.
You may consider giving Dr. Marvin a personal call and see if you can see if it will shed some light on that would be beneficial for her.
Great. Thank you.
Steve, this is Margot. I was wondering, have you done any research on PTSD?
Yes, Margot, we've had a number of folks that have responded when we talked about that on previous calls. Now, for the benefit of all of the folks on the line with us tonight, the PTSD is a post-traumatic stress disorder that is experienced by many of our returning veterans and prior veterans going back to, many of the conflicts that our military has been involved with, Vietnam and perhaps even earlier. And I know of a number of individuals that I've personally spoken with and heard their stories where these individuals have seen an improvement in the symptoms that they have dealt with. And in some cases, I've talked with individuals that for the first time since Vietnam have a good sense of well-being and are not having the kinds of issues that they've dealt with in the past. So that's, I think, a very encouraging thing, because people don't realize that how serious that issue is in America. We have all of these veterans, as young men and women returning from, their tours of duty in the sandbogs, and there's a great deal of those that are also coming back with these kinds of symptoms that they're facing. And they don't necessarily have good options if they're still currently active duty. If they bring these issues up, that may cause them to lose their position in the service. It may cost them promotions. It's a very difficult thing. But we have something that, one of the things that's common is that people have a sense of well-being. And I think most everyone on this call that's been taking protandim for any length of time will agree with that that generally that's something that is a pretty common thing. So do you realize that of these current returning veterans that there are 15 suicides a month?
Yeah.
On an average of 15 suicides, whereas of the active duty personnel, they have experienced about one a month. So the level of problem is huge.
Yeah.
And it's not being addressed, and that's something that's very disappointing, because these people have given their lives for our country and sacrificed in many ways. So if you know somebody, and encourage them and introduce them to the product, you'll find some studies that relate to PTSD and oxidative stress, but it's a relatively new area of research, and I've not seen a lot come up there yet.
Okay, thank you.
But encourage them and get them on it any way that you can to help them.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Who else has a
Steve?
Yes, go ahead.
comment, and that is abuse victims also suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder.
That's absolutely right, Joe.
And that's like a huge, huge problem when they get out of the situation that they can't readjust. I will tell you that protandim helps tremendously with that.
I'm glad you brought that up, Joni. You're absolutely right. That's and oftentimes people don't, from domestic violence issues, those kinds of abuse have triggered that in a lot of people, and also in many cases there isn't a willingness to talk about it. So if you have someone, many of you on the line, if you know someone or you have a loved one or family member or a good friend of yours that may have gone down this road, generally offer out the compassion and talk about the fact that there is hope. But Joni, while I've got you on the line, I know that you've been through some trauma yourself with some burns. How has your recovery been?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I went through a flash burn about 3 months ago where a can blew up in my face and caught my pants on fire. I had third-degree burns and very deep third-degree burns on the back of my legs. Really the only indication that you see on my face now, and I was using the True Science on my face. That's actually what got me to start using True Science, actually. But the only indication that there was a flash burn on my face is the fact that my hair is about half an inch long all the way around my face. Darn it. I wish the True Science worked on my hair, but that's okay. As far as on the backs of my legs, interestingly, I try to look at everything as kind of a science experiment of sorts. And scar tissue tends to be hard. It tends to get itchy. Of course, it's a different color and everything. The really, really deep burns, there is still evidence that there was a burn. But the neat thing about the True Science, and of course I've been taking protandim for almost a year now too, is that it kind of softens up the tissue. The burn tissue is not as tough, and it relieved the itching during the healing process. Now, I didn't put it on the actual wound. I'm going to point that out. I did use what the burn unit at LSU told me to use, but the skin that had already healed, gosh, it's way uncomfortable. But everything has worked out really well. I'm super pleased with my face. Doc Marvin got to see kind of the progression of how my face healed, and I'm really pleased. So thank you for asking. I appreciate that.
That's a great report, Joni. I'm so glad to hear that.
I'm wondering if you, by any chance, have any pictures of that recovery.
Oh yes. I have pictures because you asked Karen. Karen always had to be forewarned when I was sending her a picture. I happen to live by myself, so I needed somebody else to go, oh yeah, it looks better. So I did send pictures to Karen too. To her chagrin, I might add.
Pretty important. I want to send them each so that we might can see them too.
Perhaps down the road, Joni will maybe you'll put together a little compendium of your progress. And,
okay.
You're on the Joni's Louisiana Science Project.
Yes, and that's how I had to look at it. It's okay. So this is a science experiment here, and you got to have a good attitude about it,
Grouchy is not grouchy, right, Joni?
He's doing remarkably well. And let me just tell you that. But he is getting older.
Let me clue in the folks here what I'm talking about when I make that comment to the listeners on the call with us. I've actually I've switched gears here and changed over to Joni's pet dog.
Joni, who has a lot of critters. I have a lot of animals, but I happen to have a 14-year-old black lab who had been taking Adequan shots last year, and I ended up losing my job, and I couldn't afford the $60 a shot injection that he needed, and to get that started, you have to do it every 4 days. And he was on that regimen until it leveled out. Well, I couldn't afford it anymore, and so he kind of took a back burner on that when I didn't have a job anymore. And he started getting all stiff again. He has arthritis very badly. I will tell you that he is running around like a crazy man. He's doing great. I've got him on protandim, and I decided I would do that with him. And he is just doing fabulously. He is not grouchy anymore, not like he was. Now he just acts perturbed with the puppy just because he wants to. But other than that, everything is great. So thank you for asking about him too. What else would you like to know, Steve? I'm like one big science experiment.
When you get a chance, I want you to, one of these days, if you haven't yet seen there is a video on YouTube about a horse on protandim that I'm sure that if you haven't seen it, Joni, will be of interest to you.
Oh yeah, Karen was telling me about it. She said it was awesome. Oh, hold on a minute.
For the benefit of the folks on the call, if you're interested and you're on your computer, if you do a search, put in the word protandim and the word Zamora, Camora, that's the name of a horse in Northern California, and YouTube, there's a short video of 3 minutes and something that shows the progression of this person's horse that was suffering from some arthritis conditions and so forth, and then the results after the fact when they put the horse on protandim. So I think everyone is getting anxious to know more about when the company is going to release the information on the new pet product that's in development and it's in clinical trials. And I don't know, I'm hoping that with that little teaser that the company put on our websites, the distributor websites that showed this big, beautiful, I don't know what kind of dog it was, kept running towards the screen with the teaser on it. There's great things coming at the Elite Academy. I'm hoping that that's going to be an announcement that maybe we're going to be able to share with everyone that we're going to soon have a new pet product.
That would be great. I'm looking forward to that.
It's a big, huge English sheepdog is what it is. It's running towards you. So I'm hoping that that's indicative that they're going to say something.
That would be great.
Well, Joni, thanks for jumping on. Go ahead, yes?
No problem. This is Sue Allison. I live in Sanger, Texas, which is north of Dallas.
Yes, Sue.
We have a university here, University of North Texas, that actually has an autism research center. And I wondered if it would be wise or a good idea if I went in and approached them and asked them if they were interested in doing research on protandim within their, the bounds of their research guidelines down there. Is that something anybody's ever done?
I've never heard of it, Sue, but that doesn't mean that asking somebody a question isn't a bad idea. There is, of course, if you decide to do that, you may want to definitely call Dr. Marvin because he does have access to Joe McCord's phone number, and they talk regularly each week. And of course, that would be something that the connection between the university and Dr. McCord would be, of the utmost importance. But that's certainly an area of great concern for so many people in the United States. With statistics, I think the last was like 1 in 120 children end up being diagnosed with autism. So it's a huge problem.
Yes, and we need to make these researchers aware of of these products, especially protandim, so they can do research on it and come out with some studies showing. So
Yeah, we've heard some anecdotal stories, over the last 78 prior calls that we have done, and those are very encouraging. But we certainly have not seen published research yet, and boy, that would be a welcome sight.
yes, yes. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Steve?
Hello.
Yes?
This is Jacqueline in Cordova, Tennessee. I got on a little late. Am I to understand that taking my protandim with my blood pressure pill, my juice plus, and my vitamin C is wrong?
No, I would not suggest to you that it's wrong, but let me reiterate a couple of things. If you're taking let's start with the top. Let's start with the blood pressure medication. There is no issue of contraindication between you taking that blood pressure medication and taking protandim. There's no concern there that's ever been voiced that I've heard of. The vitamin C and the juice drink are both direct antioxidants.
No, it's Juice Plus. Juice Plus is a vegetable pill, a fruit pill, and what is the third one? One for circulation. They're all capsules.
Right. I understand. You're not talking about the Juice Plus beverage. You're talking about a capsule product.
Yes, Juice Plus is a company. They have 3 capsules that is supposed to be all your fruits and vegetables within the capsule. Since I don't eat 25 fruits and vegetables a day, I just take them in a capsule.
Yeah, and I'm not familiar with that particular individual product. I have a little bit of understanding of their juice product, but one of the things that if that product is meant to be an antioxidant product, it's going to be a direct antioxidant, and it's going to have a variety of different things that it may do for you. One of the things would be, as a direct antioxidant, is trying to eliminate free radicals. But remember, the mechanism that a direct antioxidant uses is one molecule of that antioxidant compound and one free radical join together, and they're neutralized, and then the body flushes both of them out. So we call that the one and done club. Now, when your own body, which is, and you're taking protandim, that is activating inside of your individual, all of your cells in your body. It's activating that gene switch that's turning on those survival genes involved in making the enzymes that your body naturally produces, and it's causing them to be made at the level of the original blueprint design of 100%. And those are neutralizing 1 million free radicals approximately per second, every second. And then they do wear out after about 13 days, and then the body reproduces and makes another one. So you're gaining much more antioxidant protection over any amount of direct antioxidants that you could possibly consume. Now, the product I'm not aware of, but there may be other health benefits of why you want to take it. As long as it doesn't have one of the components in it that is in protandim, there's no conflict. If it does have any of the ingredients in protandim, then wait an hour before or an hour after before you take it.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Hello, Steve.
Yes.
This is Lashana from Indianapolis, Indiana. I was actually trying to catch up on you guys back when you were talking about the post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay.
With that, because I just recently started taking the protandim, and I actually have post-traumatic stress disorder, and so I know that you said that it doesn't have, there's really no restrictions as far as taking it in conjunction with other medications, but I guess I was trying to find out with the people that had clients or whatever that have already uh, taking the protandim with the post-traumatic stress disorder, is it in general that they wait 4 months to see effects, or it just all depends, I guess, mainly on the person and what, I don't wondering, is there like a timeline that anybody has noticed, or is 4 months just usually about what it takes to start seeing anything?
No, you bring up some very good points, but let me ask you, before I address that, let me ask you one question. How long have you been taking protandim now?
I've only been taking it for about a month.
Okay.
And I know I got quite a bit of other medications, and one of the things I was wondering is maybe some of my other medications might be masking if there's any changes. And I just know it hadn't been a while, but I was just maybe trying to get a rough idea of, if something might.
Two things that I would recommend that you do. One of them is because you're taking several medications, I would suggest that you please call Dr. Marvin tomorrow, because remember, Dr. Marvin was first a licensed pharmacist before he went to medical school, so he has a great deal of knowledge there also. But with respect to the timing issue, of course, everyone is unique, and I've heard anecdotal stories of people beginning to see results from soup to nuts in the timing issue from days or weeks, to months. And I've seen, I'm talking, for example, even Vietnam era veterans that within a couple of months, those symptoms that they previously experienced were gone. And so that's hopeful. Now, with respect to your physicians, you want to take and work with them, and so that you're communicating well with them, the very symptoms and things that you are experiencing, and you can work with them so that perhaps they'll be able to decrease or even eliminate over time the medications that they have prescribed.
Okay.
And of course, do not take yourself off of any medications, because if the doctor put you onto the medications, then please follow their directions and communicate with them so that they can adjust it accordingly. And eventually, I'm with you. If you weren't taking any, that would be the best end result, wouldn't it be?
All right.
Can you tell me, what have you already noticed in change? Have you noticed any change in your sleep patterns?
Actually, that's one thing I'm starting to notice, because that was actually a big push with my doctor. About 2 weeks ago, I started having a little bit higher stress levels, because I still work for the military. I just am not active duty anymore, and I was having really bad headaches and chest pains and nosebleeds and stuff like that. And so one of the things that he was trying to get back focused, because I had stopped taking some of my medications to help me sleep, because it just, I'm a mother as well, so you can't really take a pill and knock yourself out completely and take care of kids. So I know that was one of the things that I noticed a little bit, is that I'm able to get to sleep a little bit better now, and waking up like actually feeling like I slept, instead of waking up at 1 o'clock in the morning and then 3 o'clock, and then so like for the last week I've had a pretty consistent sleep pattern this week, so the sleep is getting a lot better. So that's one thing that I haven't had, is just having energy in the daytime.
When you wake up in the morning, do you feel more refreshed now?
Yes, and I don't feel so much nausea in the morning. Because with some of taking the sleep pills and stuff like that, sometimes I just wake up and I either feel like I have a hangover or feel like I'm gonna throw up or something. So a lot of that's went away, and then not as shaky during the daytime, because I have to take a pill that keeps me awake as well, and I don't have as much of the shake. So I'm kind of skeptical still, because it's like it might be too quick for something to be happening, but
You're going, remember that here's what happens. In 30 days, we know from the laboratory results that on an average, 40% of the oxidative stress level is dropped because of people taking protandim. Now, we do know that the laboratory results show that that continues to improve up to the 90 or 120-day portion. Some of the other enzymes that are associated with the antioxidant protection by the 120-day mark have risen up, some 30%, some 50%, some 300%. So all of that combined is going to give you continued good results. And, you know, one of the things that from a long-range general health perspective for you is this, that in the study that Louisiana State University did on basically the protandim product with various skin issues and skin cancer, one of the things they state in the study is that protandim is a chemopreventive. Let me explain that. It's common people understand the word chemotherapy, which means using a drug or a substance to treat a disease. Now, chemoprevention is an equivalent term, but it means using a substance like protandim to prevent a disease. Now, that's a little bit contrary to the FDA statement, but I'm just quoting the statement in the Louisiana State University, or the LSU's published medical journal article that calls protandim a chemopreventive. Now, I really encourage you to work closely with your doctors and work on asking them how they can, you know, help you begin to reduce the amount of pharmaceuticals that are necessary. Have you noticed in the afternoon a difference in your energy level?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not having the shake along with being awake, I guess you would say. So I'm not as tired during the day because I'm just able to think, I guess. You could say it's different, so you can't always think on medication.
Right. Let me ask you this: would you characterize that different than, you know, just like a cup of coffee that gives you a temporary energy boost? Do you notice it's more? Do you notice it as more of a sustained energy throughout the day?
Yeah, instead of like the sugar rush where it's a crash and burn and the caffeine pill and, you know, that goes right away. So it's steady. And it's not, I mean, it's not a whole lot, but I can tell because I know how usually tired I am by like 4 or 5, and I used to always take a nap. And so the day is...
You have your own up there. I can eat yours then.
No nap.
Look at your husband.
Oh, that's congratulations.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Look at your husband. Your husband. Your husband. Well, look at him.
Sometimes people overlook some of the small things that are happening just because there's a lot of rush of life that's going on around people. And sometimes it's kind of good to just take a moment and reflect on the things that you really are experiencing. And be encouraged. It sounds to me like you're making some good progress, and it's a steady progress. Well, thanks for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay, we probably got time for one more before we wind it up tonight. Looks like.
Connecticut?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, have you had anyone speak about heat or mold issues?
I can't think of. I'm trying to think back during the different calls we've had and so forth. I don't recall a lot being talked about on mold.
Okay.
But in the case of some of those other issues, I don't.
I was taken down seriously for about 2 years, off and on, and I actually had to, you know, I was too tired to move out, but I was working as a nurse, and I knew it wasn't just, you know, hours of work. And then I realized, you know, other symptoms were happening, and I was getting brain fog, and I was having, you know, like procrastination, which I never had. I was always motivated. My energy levels sunk, and I my immune system's always been quite well, and I've kept it up and with nutrition. And then, by God's grace, I got this phone call from my upline to tell me about this enzyme, which I was looking for actually, because of my thyroid. I wanted to make sure that it got the right boost. And I took it in 4 hours. All the trauma that I had for, especially this last year, dissipated. And I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I had been on natural thyroid, which wasn't helping, which normally it did, to try to get that immune system pumped up. But then I was having serious trouble, with my ear. I've gotten I showed it right in my feet too. My toenails got better, and I don't have the growth anymore. And then the mold has settled in my throat, and my ears, and they're dissipating. In the last month, I've become a different person. I'm feeling much better.
That's a very good report. It's interesting that you mentioned yeast. I went on and did a quick search, and if you take oxidative stress and yeast, you'll find a relationship of over 2,674 studies that tie things together. And I know the comment that you made about improvement of the appearance of your toenails and so forth, I've heard that from a number of people because, it's amazing when you remove the component of oxidative stress that we all talk about, by what protandim does, and I say you're leveling the playing field and allowing this marvelous body that we walk around in to function the way it was designed by the Creator. That in itself, some amazing things happen.
Yeah, I've had a copper overload and a low zinc, and I found out through hair people that the SOD has to do with this. So it just came in the mail to re-emphasize how wonderful this SOD is, and the need for stress, to help, especially zinc and the magnesium, or the stress minerals, and so that this just, helps take this off the thyroid. That's what I was having. I felt it was, and then when I took this protandim, it was like, my thyroid was released, because no matter how much natural thyroid I had been on the last 2 years, my body temperature went up as soon as I took that protandim. So I knew that I was being healed, you know what I mean? That my body was starting to respond to the immune system.
Keep doing the good results. That is a good report. It's a good report.
Yeah.
You folks up there in the Northeast have got a wide open area up there to share.
Oh, yeah. Right. Thank you.
Okay. Well, folks, I think we're a little bit past the hour 10 here.
Can I ask one more question?
See if I can.
Fingernail or toenail, if you feel like if you're losing it.
Okay.
What about your fingernail or your toenail? Somehow something happened to my fingernail. I don't know if I smashed it or what, but the fingernail, it went off. It kind of regrew. I didn't know that it was gone. I looked around. A new one was growing underneath the old one.
Well, sounds like
What
you're.
kind of have that?
Well, when you like the comment I just was sharing a moment ago, every time that you can allow your body to come back into more of its natural, original creation alignment, functioning, let's say. But when you remove oxidative stress, so the body's not having to deal with that as an extra war that's going on, and you're able to level that playing field, some amazing things begin to happen again. I see it over and over again with people I have the opportunities to talk with, and we really have something good in our hands, and the more that we share it with people and encourage them to take that yellow pill and swallow, the better off a lot of folks are going to be down the road. It's like when you hear Dr. Crapo on the ABC primetime video say, I don't want to wait until I was 80 years old to find out I should have taken this.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, we're doing the right things, folks. We're doing the right things. We take one pill and swallow and drink water and share it with everybody that you possibly can. Use the 3-foot rule. If they come within 3 foot, within arm's reach, then open up and share the good news.
Thank you.
Folks, it's been a delight to be with you on the call. I'm sorry that Dr. Marvin had the phone difficulties tonight and couldn't join us. But I tell you what, when we get back on next week, hopefully we'll be doing a little bit of recap from the Elite Academy number 11 there in San Antonio, Texas, coming up in a day or two. Dr. Marvin's leaving tomorrow to go down for some of the elite functions, and myself and a number from my group out here in Virginia will be heading down on Thursday morning. And we're looking forward to meeting and seeing a bunch of new folks. If you hear my voice or see me down there, please come up and say hello, howdy, hi there. I look forward to seeing you. And I'll be hanging around Dr. Marvin a little bit, but I'm a big, tall guy, about 6'5", and gray hair and 240 pounds. So don't be bashful. Just come up and say hi to Mar tonight. So we look forward to seeing you there. And next week we'll come back with some good reports, and perhaps even we'll have made arrangements for a good guest speaker to join us besides. So I want to wish all of you a wonderful evening and continue doing your good work. And thanks for joining us tonight. So good night, all.
Steve, is this available for a review tonight or tomorrow?
Yes, it's as soon as we get off the line in a couple minutes, it'll be up there. Tonight again is call number 49, and it will be the one that'll automatically come up on the replay when you dial in on the replay number. And of course, if you don't have that, it's up on Dr. Marvin's website. It's the last 4 digits. It ends in 1799 instead of the 1700 that you called in tonight. And there's also up there we have open that other call number 46, which was the tax tips from the CPA that specializes in the multi-level marketing business, Bob Ellis. And that's a real good 1-hour call with some good, very good tax tips and some things that can help save you some money if you're a Life Vantage distributor of how to and some really. So I want to remind everyone that that is also up there available. And again, like we always say, that protandim is not intended to heal, cure, mitigate, or prevent any disease. Well, in the United States of America, only a drug can do that. But we certainly know that it eliminates oxidative stress at 40% in 30 days for everyone. That's great. And good night, folks. Look forward to seeing you next week, or maybe get to see you in person down in San Antonio.
Good night.
Good night.
Don't forget that card, Steve.
Okay.
Good job.
Your conference recording has stopped.
Jane, did you